Welcome to Masterclass. I'm Pamela Giacarino, Editor-in-Chief of Luxe Interiors Design. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Anna Bond, co-founder and Chief Creative Officer of Rifle Paper. What began as a stationery startup in 2009 has bloomed into a celebrated lifestyle brand. Collaborations with Anthropologie, Keds, L'Occitane, Laloy Rugs, and more has brought Rifle Paper into homes around the world. This past summer, Rifle released a gorgeous new wallpaper collection with York wall coverings. Anna, welcome. It's so nice to see you and be with you here today.
Thank you. Great to see you too. Happy to be here.
We've got a lot of ground to cover because I have so many questions for you. And I want to start off and say congratulations. The design world is thrilled that you had your new collection with York wall coverings. And I wanted to ask you, I assume that wallpaper was something that was was sort of on your vision board because it just naturally dovetails with what you're doing at Rifle. But can you tell us a little bit about how the collaboration came together?
Yeah, so we, back in 2013, we had a very small collection that came out and it was popular, but we weren't able to really grow it in the way that we felt like we wanted to. So after we started getting more into home with Laloy and doing rugs, we really felt like we needed to launch wallpaper in a bigger way. So York was one of the first people that we reached out to because I love that they're a heritage US brand. They've been around for over 100 years. And it just felt like they would be the perfect fit to design the collection with us and really lend their expertise into the industry. And they've been amazing partners, and I've loved working with them and seeing their factory in Pennsylvania and visiting up there a few times. So it's been a really fun process.
That's great. Well, we're absolutely thrilled. And tell us a little bit about the collection and sort of the inspiration behind it. I know that I read that one of your favorite papers is the Command, which is inspired by Kate Hill's 18th century farmhouse in France. She's a professional cook or chef for people who are not familiar. But, tell us a little bit about what was in your head and also what was York's sort of play in all of this.
Well, we really wanted to get a variety of kind of everything from classic Rifle prints to more basics, if you will, things that were more livable, things that were colorful, really represent the Rifle Paper Company color palette, also make it home friendly. So there are all these little boxes that we were trying to check with everything. And yeah, I think my personal favorite is the Come Out one just because it really tells a story. And I had gone to Kate's 18th century farmhouse in France on a trip by myself with a few other women that I met there. And it was just such a magical experience. So that one, I just love all the little details in it. There's little fig trees and chickens, and it just has a lot of elements in it. So it was really fun to paint that one. And then we have things in the collection that are very classic. Florals that we've used in other mediums, and those have been really successful. We have murals, and then some solid grass cloth coverings that kind of pair with everything. So try to be a little mix and match too.
Yeah. So how do you, creatively, you go on this trip. I assume that you were there to sort of like dive into French cuisine and you're inspired. And talk a little bit about what goes on for you as sort of the Chief Creative Officer, the artistic vision behind Rifle in terms of, what are you doing? And are you taking pictures and then going back and painting? Walk us through that process of sort of, how you're inspired by a place or an image, and then how do you go from that to sort of this fully realized design?
For that one specific, I took a ton of photos there because it was just a really beautiful place and such a great experience. And then I knew I wanted to do something from that trip, and so I kind of saved these things that I loved about it, and then the wallpaper just felt like the perfect medium to do it. And then other things just come about through, sometimes we'll take an element from one thing, or it could be a leaf, it could be kind of anything that kind of draws inspiration. And then I think part of my biggest job is to really try to look at everything as a whole and make sure it's coming together as a collection, and that it has balance to it, and that when you look at everything together, it tells a story for the collection, not only individually.
I see your fabulous mood boards. I'm a big mood board person myself. So is that sort of your, like, in terms of your process, Anna, are you going somewhere, or you have an idea and you are mood boarding it first? I mean, Rifle has like this aesthetic that everybody, wants, like the color palette, like, right? It's sort of like, we want you to draw within these certain lines that are like the beloved Rifle, the botanicals and the colors, but when you're working on a specific collection, and let's say like a collaboration for York, are you putting things on the wall and then sketching a lot, or do you just get right down into the painting of it?
I do kind of dive into the painting more than I sketch, or if I do, I think my process for sketching is actually more written. I'll write down ideas, like words, but often won't sketch the design unless I need to kind of work out layout. But I would say most of they're more like idea journals than they are sketchbooks. And then I do like to just dive in and paint. And then I do a lot of work on the computer afterwards too, where I'll paint elements and then use the computer and Photoshop to piece things together and see how they'll work or change colors. So it definitely all starts with a hand painted illustration, but then either myself or my team will do work on the back end to see how we can use it and how we can experiment with colors and scale and different things like that.
You have so many collaborations. How much fun was it for Wallpaper? And also, was this, because this scale is so, like, you have your rug collection, but then seeing things on the wall. Talk a little bit about what that was like to do, specifically see your work in Wallpaper.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I had so many ideas going. I had a Pinterest board of vintage wallpapers, and so I think going in, we had a lot of ideas to talk about, and it was fun to work with York because they also have an archive we could look through and really lean on them for different types of repeats and different ways to construct patterns for the wall. And one thing I wanted to do is give nods in different patterns. Like we have a sort of a classic lattice pattern, and I thought that that was fun to update and make a little more modern. So it was definitely a collaborative process and really fun to about things for the home in a different kind of way, because something on your walls is, it's a big commitment, and it's definitely different than even a rug that you can switch out a little more often. Like wallpaper is not permanent, but somewhat permanent.
But you have peel and stick too, I see now,
yes.
Right? So that's something that's right. Wallpaper is a commitment. We see so much, so much more attention to walls and wallpaper, which we love because we love color and pattern and individual expression. But another trend that we see and something that you offer too is sort of a peel and stick for people that are renting or maybe want to just test it out. So I think that's a great thing to have as well, if you're a little commitment shy.
Yeah, we already have it out. We didn't expect to launch it so quickly, but as soon as we launched the collection, people were asking, and so York was great, and that we pivoted and said, let's get a few prints out, peel and stick, and now we're working on a whole new collection to launch in peel and stick after the new year. So excited about that.
That's great. So I want to talk a little bit, I want to nerd out on mediums and all, right, I know this is just like an art nerd conversation because it's just something that I think our audience is interested in. I know I am, but so all of your, original artwork that you do is, I think I have this correct, that it's mostly done in gouache, which is an opaque watercolor. And talk a little bit about, there are so many mediums that are out there. I believe that this is a medium that, you've been working with, from the get-go, but talk a little bit about your love for gouache and why that's a medium that for you, with rifle, you turn to that medium. I think for the most part, I'm not sure if you use any other mediums as well when you're sort of painting your expression for the brand.
Well, I used to paint acrylics, and then I painted a lot in watercolor before we started rifle, and was during that time I was trying to find my style anyway, just what felt like me. I was young, just I knew I loved art, but still trying to find what was unique to myself. And I remember going to the art store and just seeing gouache, and I never painted with it, but it comes in small tubes like watercolor, and so I thought, let's try this. And I think the first thing I painted was like an alphabet poster for my future sister-in-law. So I don't know, just something about it changed the way I painted. It's very flat and opaque and very velvety. The colors are super rich, and it just sort of clicked with me, and I fell in love with it, and it was sort of no turning back. Every once in a while I try to use a different medium for rifle, and it just doesn't feel the same. So far that is kind of what everything is done with. And I paint on paper, like flat watercolor paper, and then so it makes it easy to scan. But there's just something about the colors especially that I just love. And
yeah. They're beautiful, and they do have that velvety richness to them. Talking about the color, which is so important to rifle, it's so important to design and decor. I feel like the rifle paper aesthetic, as I mentioned earlier, has just been so consistent in terms of, the color palette. Where do you turn to when you're thinking about color? Where do you turn to, and how much do you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't go off? So, like, is it scary to think about going into a different color palette aesthetic? Or do you do so for different collaborations? But talk about color for a bit.
Well, there's definitely a rifle palette that we started with. We still use those colors. Say it's sort of like a peach, hunter green, a very orangey red. There's some, like, those colors have been around since the beginning. And so I do feel like there's like tones that we constantly go back to, which helps make everything feel consistent, whether it's a card or a rug. But at the same time, we've for sure evolved the color palette. Probably the first year or two, I don't think I used blue or purple at all. And so I still remember I was like, I'm going to use blue. We're going to introduce it. And now we use every color, but it's definitely like been evolved over time. But I think that consistency of these core colors we come back to really, like I said, ties everything together and makes the brand feel consistent. And at this point, I don't feel very limited in where we can go, but there's definitely colors we kind of ease into, and then we'll use more and more. And it's interesting in the home space, what colors are more popular there, not necessarily the same as what works on a journal. So we try to be careful of that and learn from our partners. So what colors work in the marketplace? Where can we push it? I really wanted to do some green wallpapers. I think some of them was inspired by paint colors I'd seen from Farrow and Ball that I really love seeing on the walls, and how can we incorporate some of those more interesting, unique colors that I love in interiors into what we do and kind of push things a little bit. So,
speaking of color and interiors, your own home. It's so interesting because like you're living in this like bright and poppy, beautiful rifle world with what you and your husband Nathan have created. And your home was published, I feel like it was maybe a couple of years ago, and it's beautiful, but it's very monochrome. It's like sort of a monochromatic mix of black and white with touches of gold. And so I wanted to ask you about your home and sort of, do you have it sort of monochromatic because you need sort of a palette cleanser from what you're doing? And as you evolve in sort of your own home evolution, how how has that gone? And are you putting wallpapers up in your own home now?
Yeah, I would say it definitely when I was design. So we bought a house and we completely renovated it. And at the time, I really felt like I needed a palette cleanser, something that I could come home from all the color and just sort of take a deep breath in and kind of reset. But I do feel like as we've lived in the house now, I think 3 years or so, I'm starting to incorporate more and more color. I just put up the green canopy wallpaper, which is this one behind me, in one of my son's rooms, and I put up the Kamat wallpaper in our powder bathroom. So yeah, I think I've been trying to embrace color more and more at home and find things that really make me happy. But yeah, I think going into it, it was very much not because I didn't love color, but just that I needed this alternative space than what I do every day at work. So
That's great. I was interested in, you know, you're such a creative force and visionary, and you know, you're also running like a huge empire, and you're a mother of 3 boys. So how do you talk a little bit about, Anna, how you sort of fill your own creative well, and how do you express yourself creatively outside of, you know, the work that you're doing? Or is it all, you know, or is it all sort of interrelated? I know you've got a great Instagram live, I believe it was your first, where you sort of like put together this charcuterie board that was fantastic. So I know that you're also, I believe that you're sort of like a little bit of a foodie too, which is also a creative process to create through cooking. But how do you just, you know, keep that creative well full for yourself?
well, it used to be that I would go to our New York office like once a month, and that's not happening right now. But that used to be really, you know, I'd be by myself for a couple days. Usually just go for 1 or 2 nights, and just the energy of New York and traveling by myself. I love to travel by myself and be in a hotel. Or I would go to the Met and walk around by myself, and that's very fulfilling to me. Since COVID hit, you know, I think the first couple of months are really challenging, probably for so many of us to feel creative, and definitely went through that rut. And at this point, you know, trying to find little things like, yeah, my new painting hobby and cooking, or I just started going to a book club with some other moms and stuff that trying to carve out things that I felt like I didn't have time for before, but I feel like are very necessary to feel social and do something different and do things that are inspiring but not necessarily part of work life. So it's little things like that that have been helpful the last few months. So.
That's great. What is surprising about the creative process, or sort of, you know, what, I mean, I think, is everything surprising? I know you know, you started the brand, it's sort of like a stationery, you know, I think you like hand painted your own stationery for your wedding, and that's really, and put it out on Flickr, and that's what sort of, you know, took off. When you look back now, you know, like did you envision that you would be in this place?
No, no. When we started, I mean, we were just sort of like tunnel vision, make it work. I think we had big ideas, but we didn't really sit down and articulate what those were, or really have a vision of where we'd end up. I think in the beginning, it was just like figure out how to make money in general and like survive. But yeah, I think it's definitely got bigger than I probably ever had thought it could be, and into more categories than ever. But at the same time, even though we started with stationery, and even though it's the heart of the brand and what I love, I'm so excited to do these other categories too, and feel very inspired by how we can take our aesthetic and put it on things that people use every day in their lives. And I think one of the things about the brand that people have said over and over, especially lately, is that it just makes them happy, and it just brings a bit of joy to their life. And so I think that can show up in all different ways and places in your life. So that's really our goal, is to create things that are beautiful and happy and just bring a little bit of joy, because I think we could all use that.
Yeah, I remember. It's funny, you just reminded me, a few years ago we had an editor meeting down here. We have an office in New York and an office in Florida, much like you. And one of the editors must have reached out to your company, and you were kind enough to send us some kind of stationery. And everyone opened it and they were so excited, all the editors. So it was a great way for us to kick off our meeting. I have two questions before we wrap it up and go back to our respective, to-do list guys. I know that you're sort of like, venturing into home decor. So talk a little bit about why you love that category in general, and also, what visions do you have for, maybe, like, what do you fantasize about when you think about Rifle? You've got rugs and wallpaper. Is there anything else that personally you're really into when it comes to the home, or that you think about for the Rifle brand?
Yeah, I think, well, I love interiors just personally. I love following interior design and architects. And so for me, it feels very close to me. And so I think now that we have walls and floors, I think we're trying to fill a lot of those spaces in between and a lot of the smaller accessories for the home. So we have planned some trays and mugs, candles, things that are accessories or gifts that go for the home, and that's really exciting. And then bigger than that, hopefully we'll have more tabletop. I would love to do bedding or throws. With Aloy, we're doing some floor pillows, so that'll be a fun introduction in next year with them. So yeah, it's kind of just looking at what our customers asking for and what we feel like we can get into. But yeah, some of the immediate things are some of those smaller, fun, easier things for the home.
That'll be we'll all be waiting with bated breath. I'm gonna say bedding would be pretty amazing. And just thank you so much. I think Rifle just continues to really delight and captivate us and bring us joy. Is there anything like breaking news that's coming? I know you've got a second collection with York coming out for wall covering?
Yes, we will have more peel and stick. We'll have some more murals in that collection. We have a new Leloy collection launching pretty soon. And then we just launched for the holidays some sort of keepsake silk scarves. So that was a personal desire of mine to make those for a long time. So I'm excited that we have those, and I would love to get one framed and photograph that, because I think that they're also sort of could be beautiful art pieces if you frame them. But yeah, just, I don't know, we're keeping busy and lots on the to-do list.
I'm sure. Well, thank you so much, Anna, for making the time and talking with me today. And I know our viewers are big fans of Rifle, and we continue to admire you and the brand. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
County TV and Appliance has served designers, architects, builders, and homeowners since 1951. Located in Stamford, Connecticut, we have created a beautiful contemporary space to showcase the Monogram Appliance line. Monogram believes it's the sum of the details that define luxury, and they create features that feel anything but ordinary. The Monogram Statement Collection is a perfect example, with edge-to-edge handles, polished stainless steel, and rich interactive graphic displays. Monogram ranges are precisely engineered to perform beyond expectations. Monogram takes pride in the quality and artistry of its materials, with uncompromising attention to every detail. You can see this in the Minimalist Collection's streamlined design, or in the handcrafted luxury of the Monogram hearth oven. From the brushed stainless exterior to the simple touch controls, each electric hearth oven captures the performance of a wood-fired brick oven. The precision of craftsmanship is also reflected in cooking performance. The Monogram 5-in-1 oven with Advantium technology uses 4 technologies to deliver fast, quality results. It can be used as a convection oven, toaster oven, warming or proofing oven, precision cook oven, and microwave, offering exceptional flexibility. Monogram's refrigerators are no different. Climate control drawers allow you to express chill beverages and express thaw meats. Monogram's column refrigerators offer handcrafted details like adjustable aluminum door bins with glass accents, which are engineered to get stronger when cold, and ramp up LED interior lighting. Here at County TV and Appliance, we are proud to showcase all of these incredible Monogram appliances. Our expert team is ready to help you find the perfect choice for your needs.